So welcome to Midweek Mindfulness. Oh, we still got people coming in, getting connected. Um, so as always, thank everybody for being here today. Um, it's a it's a very interesting time to be alive in the world. I know you've heard me say that before. I just left a meeting with faculty, staff, and students from all across campus who are working to meet the needs and the demands of the Black students on campus, and it was really powerful to be able to sit with, the discomfort that arises, from being in that place. As a person who grew up white, male, there's this there's this kind of ingrained understanding, that I don't know, that there is an equality among people that everybody doesn't feel, and the people around you don't feel. And I remember being confused by it significantly, particularly when I joined the military. I left a small, all-white community in rural Pennsylvania, and I had, left and joined um, a very ethnically diverse group of people who were becoming soldiers. And there was a lot of conflict and pushback that was racially motivated. Um, what was interesting to me was that at the time, it often felt really unfair. you know, I felt like that I didn't deserve the way that they were treating me because I had never treated them poorly. I wasn't somebody that treated them as less than, and yet I was being, isolated and rejected and even sometimes pretty significantly attacked and persecuted. Uh, and at the time, I really worked to make friends as much as I could with the different groups and to be, to get to know them and understand them. But it wasn't until I got older that I began to realize that it wasn't me that they were fighting back against, that it was an entire system that they had grown up in that was so different, even though it essentially was the same system that I'd grown up in. And since after I started practicing mindfulness, um, it's interesting because the practice allows you to build resilience to be able to sit with what's joyous and beautiful and amazing, but also what's uncomfortable. So again, like it's as always, this is an opportunity to be able to sit quietly and see what comes up. What are you noticing? What's the resistance within us to enabling people to have and to be, you know, um, treated in a way that allows them to to feel the dignity of being a human being, like, um, and I think a lot of that comes from, the sense of lack that we all carry within us to some extent or another, and we tend to look at that sense of lack and it kind of takes over, right? It's like, well, yeah, well, if these people are going to fight for that, I want that too, right? Like, like, sure, I'm white, but I didn't have this, or I didn't have this, or right. Um, but the other way that mindfulness allows us to really approach that is to recognize that the sense of lack itself is what. Hold on one second. Sorry, just a delivery to the front door. Um, what I'm noticing now that, I've been sitting for some time is that it's the it's the sense of insecurity. It's the sense um, of lack that is actually our opportunity to connect, right? And not in a way where we all feel lacking, but when we recognize the pain that is a part of our commonality, right? Then we realize that the suffering that we experience is something that everybody experiences. And in that moment, when we're able to drop into our own suffering and to allow it to connect to the suffering of another person, then it's not anger that emerges, it's compassion, right? It allows us to tap into our inherent goodness. Um, yeah, it's this deep and rich and kind of beautiful way of noticing, right, and being able to approach this really challenging situation. Again, that most of us, we didn't ask for, right? But then who did, right? None of us asked for the challenges that we face in life. So, um, so again, thank you all for being here. And I was thinking we might do a a thought meditation where what we'll do is we'll drop in, we'll sit, we'll get comfortable, we'll relax, get physically relaxed. And as we begin to physically relax, we'll notice the thoughts that come up into our minds. And as we notice them, well, we can put a little label on them and take note of, what do they look like? Are they reactive? Are they a rehearsal of things that we've rehearsed in our mind over and over and over again because they're important positions to us? Are they conversations we haven't had yet? Are we making lists? Like, what's actually going on? Looking at the structure of the thoughts as much as looking at the thoughts themselves, right? Is there some definition to them? And if there is, it gives us a chance to start to see some of the patterns of conditioning that we have, you know, uh, adopted as a part of the culture that we, grew up in. And so once we're able to look more carefully and see those patterns of conditioning, then we can start to sit with it and really, really watch it. And then when you're in the present moment and you notice and you see that same pattern come up, now you have the conscious availability and the ability to start to make a different choice if you wish to. You can never have to, but if you wish to, you can make another choice in that moment. So again, thank you all so much for being here. So go ahead and get into your position, whatever that looks like, whether it's sitting up and feeling comfortable or it's reclining because that's what's best for you. You know me, I like to sit with my spine tall and my head balanced on top of my spine. Letting my hands rest in my lap. I'm sitting in, what's called a half lotus, or what we used to affectionately call crisscross applesauce, but whatever works best for you. Feet on the floor, just a way that you can feel connected to yourself as we begin to do that, to connect to our breath in this time, in this place, in our bodies, and our minds and hearts. Let's begin with a few nice, slow, deep breaths in through the nose, if at all possible. And a nice, long, slow exhale. Allowing our bodies to relax. Noticing how our breath and our body connect. Really allowing that relaxation just to pervade our whole body. It was quite some time into my meditation that I realized that I was practicing being relaxed. Because we tend to practice being tense throughout significant portions of our days. So we can rewire the mind and the body to relax. So we have full functionality, so we can be healthy and strong. So keep taking those nice, long, slow, deep breaths as is comfortable to you until you really begin to feel your body begin to let go. Maybe even try a sigh or two. Sighs are really very relaxing. So and then letting the breath come back online, however your body feels is appropriate. Just letting it be the guide to the depth and the richness of your breath. But really noticing, really bringing your awareness to the sensation of the breathing. To the sensation of your body as it relaxes. And maybe noticing any part of our bodies that are still holding stress. And as you bring your awareness to it, just connect it with the breath and the breathing and notice how it naturally just lets go. As always, you'll begin to notice that thoughts arise in the mind. Either patterns of thought that we've conditioned ourselves and society's conditioned us to pay attention to what is outside of us and to regard that as most important. Not judging that in any way, just noticing it. Noticing the sensation that arises if we think about missing a meeting or being late for class or not getting something done that's been assigned to us. maybe that you're noticing sounds within your environment. And the body responds. The mind flits over and takes note, classifying. Do I know that sound? Is it safe? Do I need to pay attention to it? Completely appropriate, no judgment. Again, when we notice that, we're like, oh, yeah, external environment, everything's good. And we come back to the breath, back to the breathing. So when you start to see a pattern, see if there's a label that fits. And if the label doesn't come quickly and easily, that's okay. Just use the label thinking. Thinking. So we'll apply thinking to that thought, and we'll send it on down the river of thoughts. And we'll come back to the breath, back to this moment, right here, right now. As you see your thoughts arise, you'll notice that they all stem from the past. Using our awareness, we perceive things that are happening in the moment. But then we bring our past into the moment to evaluate what's happening, to classify it. Sometimes if we're concerned or it's a mystery, then we're present, we're really looking, we're searching, we're hunting, we're tracking our prey. Probably the way we evolved. But just sitting here now where there's nothing wrong in the world, we're safe. As we notice what comes up, it's the past, pushing us toward another future that we're uncertain about, or causing us to look backward and be concerned if any of the difficult things are going to happen again. Trying to prepare us for a future that is uncertain. So as those thoughts arise, just put a label on them. Something simple. Planning. And let it flow on down the river. And come back to the breath. Back to the moment. Back to the now. Notice where your thoughts are now. If you've wandered away into a little daydream or fantasy, that's okay. Just take notice. And then gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Maybe label it daydream, concern, worry, whatever it happens to be. And if you are noticing a pattern, well, see if you can sit with it for a little bit. Noticing the comfort or the discomfort that it brings. Rationalizing. Even appreciating any thought pattern that begins to consistently develop. Just take notice of it. Just like a tense muscle. Come back to the breath, back to the out breath. And when you begin to see a pattern, take note of the pattern. Apply your label. And send it on down the river. Come back to this moment. Back to the feeling of your body and the movement of the breath. And now gently deepening your breath again, breathing in nice and deeply through the nose. And that nice long exhale. Just beginning to reconnect to the space that you're in. Feeling your body grounded against the pillow or the chair or the floor. As you begin to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. And I'll invite the bell to bring our meditation to an end. As always, thank you all so much for being here. So deeply appreciate all of you and your strength and your commitment and your resonance and yeah, the great energy you bring to the room.